From ancient India to the battlefields of Alexander the Great, war elephants were a force to be reckoned with. Trained and equipped for battle, these majestic beasts weighed up to 10 tons and brought chaos and destruction to whomever would cross them. Today, we delve into the use of war elephants throughout history and explore the good, the bad, and the brutal sides of using these majestic beasts in battle. With that said, welcome to Proper History. It's time for some Proper History. The use of war elephants is a fascinating aspect of military history that dates back to ancient times. But where and when did this practice first begin? The earliest recorded use of war elephants can be traced back to the Indian subcontinent. Within India, they were utilized by the armies of powerful kingdoms and empires such as the Maurya and Guptas. These ancient armies recognized the tactical use of war elephants, which could trample enemy soldiers, carry heavy equipment and supplies, and intimidate the enemy with their sheer size and power. As military campaigns expanded across Asia, the use of war elephants continued to spread and evolve. From India, they made their way into Persia and the Middle East, eventually being used by the Greek armies of Alexander the Great during his conquests in India. War elephants made their way to North Africa, where they were first introduced by the Carthaginians and used against the Roman armies during the Punic Wars. By the time of the Roman Empire, war elephants had become a well-established component of military organizations. Their use continued to be widespread throughout the Middle Ages, with powerful empires like the Mughals incorporating them into their armies. The use of war elephants in battle was not just a matter of applying brute force to the battlefield, but required a sophisticated level of strategic thinking and innovation. Armies had to develop specialized tactics and equipment to harness the full potential of these massive beasts on the battlefield. These revolutionary innovations are recorded in history and include items such as heavy-plated armor and even towers or howdahs, which were equipped to the backs of the elephants. In addition, they also required specialized equipment such as bridles and reins for control, and spikes or hooks to prod them into action. When all equipped, these humble beasts would be transformed into mobile fortresses that protected soldiers as they engaged the enemy. Can you imagine the sight of these armored giants charging into battle with soldiers standing and fighting from on top of their backs? What a sight that must have been. So, these were just some examples of equipment used on the beasts. Next, we need to take a look at the tactics of using war elephants. Specifically, breaking enemy lines and creating openings for friendly forces. In battle, war elephants were usually deployed in the center of the line, where they could be useful to prevent a charge or conduct one of their own. Their sheer size and their terrifying appearance made them valued as heavy cavalry. When a war elephant charged an army, it could be a fearsome and devastating sight. Elephants were often trained to charge with speed and power reaching up to 30 kilometers per hour or around 18.5 miles per hour, breaking through enemy lines and causing chaos and confusion. The sound of their trumpeting, the ground shaking from their massive weight, and simply their mere presence could strike fear and terror into the hearts of enemy soldiers who may have never encountered such massive creatures in battle before. These animals were essentially one of the most advanced physical and psychological weapons of their day. However, the elephant's effectiveness as a weapon of war depended on the tactics used by the enemy forces it was attacking and the training of the elephant itself. The use of war elephants played a decisive role in many famous historical battles. From ancient India and Persia to the Hellenistic kingdoms of the Mediterranean, these elephants were all over the place. Many of these battles not only shaped the course of history, but also showcased the tactical prowess of the commanders who employed war elephants. And let's be honest, sometimes all it took was just the mere sight of a war elephant charging into battle that made even the bravest of soldiers run for the hills. One such example is the Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE, where Alexander the Great faced off against the Persian king Darius III. Darius had a large force of war elephants, which he hoped would break through Alexander's lines and cause chaos among his troops. However, Alexander was able to adapt his tactics to counter the threat of the war elephants and, ultimately, emerge victorious. Another famous battle is the Battle of Hydaspes in 326 BCE, where Alexander faced off against the Indian king Porus. Porus had a large force of war elephants, which he used to great effect in the battlefield. However, Alexander was able to counter the threat of the war elephants with his own innovative tactics, and ultimately emerged victorious once again. Though not officially recorded anywhere, but I'm pretty sure Alexander was feeling good about himself after that battle, knowing he had outsmarted one of the largest and most powerful creatures on the planet. In ancient India, the Battle of Kurukshetra in the Mahabharata epic saw the use of war elephants on a massive scale, with both the Pandavas and the Kauravas fielding large numbers of these beasts. The battle, which lasted for 18 days, was a testament to the importance of these elephants in ancient Indian warfare. The process of turning elephants into formidable weapons of war was not without its consequences. Handlers use harsh and abusive methods to train the elephants, causing significant physical and psychological trauma. These methods included physical punishment, where the handlers use bullhooks, spears, and other weapons to beat and whip the elephants into submission. This brutality often caused wounds, broken bones, and many other injuries. Confinement was also used as a quote-unquote training method. Elephants were often kept in small spaces for extended periods of time, with limited access to food, water, and movement. This could cause severe physical and psychological stress. As with most animals, food is typically a good tool to use for training. However, this was taken to the extreme with the elephants. Starvation was a common method where the handlers withheld food until the elephants obeyed their commands, causing severe malnutrition and weakness. Lastly, let's not forget about overworking. Elephants were often forced to carry heavy loads and perform strenuous tasks, even when they were sick, injured, or exhausted. As with the other quote-unquote training methods, this caused physical injuries and exhaustion, leading to reduced effectiveness in battle. The once fearsome war elephants that dominated the battlefields began to fade into history. New weapons and tactics eventually made them less effective in combat. The invention of firearms such as cannons and muskets made it more difficult for elephants to wreak havoc on the battlefield. And, as if all of a sudden, these armored giants were no longer the unstoppable force they once were. Also, let's not forget that elephants required a lot of food, water, and attention. So, they were pretty high maintenance. As the cost of caring for these beasts began to outweigh their benefits, the demand for war elephants began to dwindle. Meanwhile, mounted cavalry units were able to outmaneuver and attack the vulnerable flanks of the elephants, further reducing their effectiveness. The rise of infantry and new tactics, such as the phalanx formation, made it even harder for elephants to maneuver on the battlefield and engage the enemy effectively. And with the increasing popularity of guns and firearms, it became even easier and more efficient to wage war without the need for these armored creatures. By the 18th and 19th centuries, war elephants had all but vanished from the battlefields of Europe, Africa, and Asia. Well, folks, that's all for today. If you liked our video about war elephants, then check out our other content too. Please like and subscribe to our channel for more proper history.